It's another Seattle Kraken game day in the preseason. We will be welcoming the Edmonton Oilers to Climate Pledge Arena. I'm here at Kraken Community Iceplex to give you the notes and quotes, everything you need to know before tonight's preseason game. That's coming up on this episode of Locked On Kraken.
You are Locked On Kraken, your daily podcast on the Seattle Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We are the Seattle Kraken.
Hey, what do you say? It's a game day, Kraken fans. Erica L. Ayala coming to you live from Kraken Community Iceplex. About half hour or so from some interviews that I did. If you are a part of the Subtext community, then you know exactly who I interviewed, but those will be coming up in the next week or so here on Locked On Kraken. But as I mentioned, today is a game day. No more split squads. Everyone's going to be here at Climate Pledge Arena. Again, if you are part of the Subtext community, I gave you kind of a little bit of a rundown of who is going to be on the ice. We know that there will be some players that will not suit up for tonight, but we are going to hear from one of them that is going to suit up for the first time this preseason, and it's a big one. It's Andre Burakovsky. I've talked to you before as I've been here at training camp that Andre has talked to us in media. He's feeling good, but he talked a lot about the road to recovery, and Dave Haxtell also talked about that as well, that there were some setbacks. Even Ron Francis last year, if you're an everydayer, an OGer, and you make Locked On Kraken a part of your daily destination, then you know there was a time that the Seattle Kraken thought that they would get Andre back. It just never came to pass. So this is a chance for him to hit the ice, but don't take my word for it. Let's hear from Andre in the media scrum after morning skate today.
Looking forward to it? I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, it's been a while. So we'll see how it goes out there today. I might be a little rusty from playing game speed and things like that, but it's been feeling good in practice, so I'm excited to get back out there.
In what ways has practice felt the best, as far as checking off boxes to ensure that you've been at 100% healthy and ready to go?
Just the way I've been skating. I mean, we have been having a couple tough days here with a lot of skating. I've been managing pretty good. It's been feeling good. I haven't had any issues really. So, in that perspective, it feels good. Of course, you still have it a little bit in your head that I've been in here for a while and how it happened. But you're gonna try to think about the game instead and focus on the things I can control out there.
So that's Andre Burakovsky, and if you want to check out more from Andre, then check out the Seattle Kraken YouTube page. I'll have something in the show notes so you can listen to his full media availability. Dave Haxtell also talked about Burakovsky's return, and here's some notes. Again, not going to play the whole clip there, but some notes from Dave Haxtell. Says that he's not asking for anything different from Andre Burakovsky than he's asking for anyone that will hit the ice tonight. He obviously knows that Andre Burakovsky coming back from an injury, and as Andre alluded to and talked about throughout his media availability today, a lot of it is about touch, but he felt that his body had been reacting and responding well to the high level of conditioning that we've seen here at training camp. We've been talking about that for the past week and a half, I guess, here on Locked On Kraken. So that's what makes Andre confident going into today's game. Some notes from Dave Haxtell. Again, not going to play the clip here in this episode, but you can definitely check that out on the Seattle Kraken YouTube page, putting a little bit of a hiatus on posting media availabilities on the Locked On Kraken page, just doing some A/B testing there. So I'll send you over to the Seattle Kraken for that, but I still have the notes in my handy dandy notebook. E for Erica. It's actually for Elon University, not the Musk guy. But anyway, this is what we know about Burakovsky returning to the ice. He's going to be paired with Wenberg, like that chemistry that they had a little bit last year. I also liked what Dave Haxtell said regarding why he likes Wenberg with Burakovsky, and obviously vice versa. But he calls Andre Burakovsky a creative type player, a player that, if I was quoting the Foo Fighters, can create something from nothing. Sonic Highways, I'm positive I've talked about that album and that series, TV series on this show before. But anyway, Sonic Highways, good stuff. Anyway, creating something from nothing. He said the quote was more akin to, he can create offense when there's not a whole lot available. I talked about it if you listened to yesterday's Squadcast with the LA Kings, Locked On LA Kings host Eddie Garcia. Yes, Jared McCann was our leading scorer last year, but only arguably after Burakovsky went down with injury, because at the time of his injury, Berkey was our leading scorer, and this is probably why. But going back to why Haxtell likes Wenberg with Burakovsky, he calls Alex Wenberg an intelligent player, a player that can read off of what Andre is doing. He said Andre Burakovsky is not the kind of player that's going to get bogged down and be so committed to systems that he leaves opportunity on the table. And so he likes partnering Alex Wenberg with Burakovsky because Wenberg has the IQ and the reaction time to be able to see what Berkey maybe sees and to get him and to facilitate for Burakovsky so that he can get some points on the board. So I loved that. I think those are the kinds of things that as you start to establish a franchise, you're going to start seeing these things. And we have to remember it's season 3 for us. We're going into season 3, and a lot of these guys have played in the NHL before, but they're doing this all for the first time. So I'm very curious to see if and how that particular pairing works. I think Bjorkstrand is another player that we should see on the ice tonight. At the time that I'm recording, I haven't gotten the official lineups from the Seattle Kraken, but as those who are a part of the Subtext community know, he was on the ice. He was practicing one-timers along with Ty Cartier, who is someone else that we're expecting to see on the ice. We will definitely see Shane Wright. I almost said David Wright. That's the New York Mets fan in me. Shane Wright. We will see Shane Wright. And Dave usually, as you know, doesn't talk explicitly about particular players, certainly not in training camp, but he did mention Shane Wright in particular. And he said that it's going to be fourth line minutes for Shane Wright, that he might be able to add some time on the power play, and that there is a little bit more of a plan for tonight for some of what he's expecting to see from players. And again, he talked about Shane Wright in particular. So we will see Gruby in net. Gruby will get the lion's share of the time, sounds like. And then Joey Decord will be the other goalie. And we're going to talk about goalies coming up a little bit later on the show. But those are some of the main notes that I have for you from today's morning skate leading into tonight's game against Edmonton. Locked On Kraken will be there on hand for the Subtext community. We're still going to do where I'll give you a few notes early on in the game, and then I will send you a snapshot and some details of what I felt were the takeaways, so you get a little bit of a heads up about what tomorrow's episode might look like before everyone else. Just as a reminder that Locked On Kraken is now a part of the Subtext community. This is an opportunity for you to subscribe to a membership where you get pretty much instantaneous analysis from me. I have certain things every day that I'll send out, including links to the episode of the day, interviews. There's a specific playlist, unlisted playlist for those of you who are in Subtext. We've got interviews from Philip Grubauer coming up. There's a Chris Drieger interview up there that I think you should really check out, and it's going to lead into a conversation we're going to have in the next segment. So make sure you're texting 918-731-3154 for those listening on audio. It's also in your show notes. You can use the link right there, and it'll take you right there. But again, if you're watching on YouTube, you see our little graphic up here for Subtext, but text 918-731-3154. You get a 14-day free trial after that. Less than $5 for you to get insider information from yours truly, Erica L. Ayala. Coming up on Locked On Kraken, I want to take you to an article that Jeff Baker for the Seattle Times wrote, which is anchoring the conversation around the goaltending competition. And there definitely is a decent amount of competition for the goalie spot. How's it going to all pan out? How much will tonight give us an indicator of that? We're going to talk about it. That's coming up on Locked On Kraken. Today's episode of Locked On Kraken is brought to you by DoorDash. As everydayers and OG listeners, you know I'm on the road a lot. And so sometimes, as much as I do love cooking while I'm on the road, sometimes you just don't have the time. And that was the case for me last night. And I'm so grateful that I had DoorDash. Not only did I have DoorDash, but I had a nice little promo code from Locked On, which I will share with you in a minute. With thousands of grocery stores to choose from, you can find the best in your neighborhood, boost the local economy, which is massively important to me, but find food that you don't really have to think too much about. I was telling a friend of mine the other day, I had groceries, I had a plan of what I wanted to cook for dinner, but I slept in, and sometimes you just need a meal to get you to the point where you can meal prep. And that was me the other day, and certainly last night. So using DoorDash comes in handy, especially because I don't really know the neighborhood. So I can take a look at what's in the area, whether I need groceries or whether I want Indian food, which is exactly what I had. Chana masala is my favorite. So you can get 50% off your first DoorDash order up to $20 value when you use code LOCKED at checkout. This is a limited time offer and terms do apply, but overall it's 50% off up to $20, no minimum subtotal, zero delivery fees on your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter code LOCKED. Don't forget, that's code LOCKED for 50% off your first order with DoorDash. Happy eating. All right. Thank you, as always, for making Locked On Kraken a part of your daily destination. All right. We're going to talk about the battle for backup goaltender. And as promised, we're going to go to an article that Jeff Baker wrote earlier in the week, or maybe last week. The 25th, whenever that was, the 25th of September. Battle for backup goalie in spotlight as Kraken play first preseason games. And so obviously, you've heard from Joey Decord if you're on Subtext. You've heard from Chris Drieger if you're on Subtext. Again, the Philip Grubauer interview coming on Subtext. So I've spoken to all of the goalies. All of the goalies are feeling healthy. They're feeling confident. They know that both the Coachella Valley Firebirds and the Seattle Kraken definitely have some expectations coming into this training camp and preseason. And yeah, they understand that there is a battle here. So, the opening line for Jeff's article: one guy hopes to resurrect his NHL goaltending career, the other to finally get his launched. Can you take any guesses as to who he's talking about here? Yes, of course, we're talking Chris Drieger and we're talking Joey Decord. Again, if you're a part of the Subtext community, you've already heard my interviews with both of these guys. Only one of Chris Drieger and Joey Decord will see his wish granted 2 weeks from now when the Kraken name their backup goalie behind incumbent number one, Philip Grubauer. The preseason backup battle began in earnest Monday night when the Kraken played a split squad games against the Calgary Flames, losing 3-2 in a shootout at Climate Pledge Arena after winning a road contest 5-3 at the Scotiabank Saddle Dome. And we're going to see Joey Decord in net alongside Philip Grubauer. Now, I mentioned in the first segment that Philip Grubauer is expected to get what sounded like the lion's share or the majority of the time in net. So, are we reading into too much that it's Joey Dax and not Drieger? I don't know. But As I told you earlier in the first segment, Dave Haxtell says there is more of a plan. They were able to really put some things down. We're going to talk about in the next segment some recalls and players that have already been reassigned, if you will. So there's already some movement happening. But we also heard from Dave Haxtell yesterday. Now, if you listen to Wednesday, I think I said it was Tuesday because I don't know what day or what time it is. Don't ask me. I said on yesterday's episode, I was spending some time with the OL Reign, so I didn't get to tweet this or promote it. But listening back to what Dave Haxtell said yesterday, he gave us 10 whole minutes in media. I'm mad I missed it because he gave us some good nuggets, and we'll talk about some of that on tomorrow's episode. But what he said is he's not expecting that by game 5 of a 6-game preseason tally that he's going to have like an absolute list of who's going to be starting the season in the NHL and who will be starting in the AHL. So there's definitely some time. There's some things that are marinating for sure when it comes to the Seattle Kraken. And I do think that it's only game 2, technically, I guess, 2 or 3. I don't know how they're counting it, but it's just the second opponent. And I don't think we need to read into the tea leaves just yet, but as Dave Haxtell has been telling us, every game is an opportunity to show what you've learned, to show where you're at, and to show and make a case for why you should be on this squad. So I talked a little bit about goaltending on, I guess, Tuesday's episode. Joey Dax, I thought, was great in regulation. Didn't quite care for how he handled the shootout. I thought with Philip Grubauer, just a few things, really small things. They were positioning, though, which, again, is important at this time of year. So that is definitely something to take into consideration. I did not watch all of the game in Calgary because I was at CPA, but Dave Haxtell talked a lot about it was hard to assess a lot of things because they didn't spend a lot of time 5-on-5, and that, of course, includes Chris Driedger. So I'm curious how the next few games go with Driedger because I found myself wanting, well, if I'm being honest, I found myself wanting to see more from all of the goaltenders. Goaltending overall is kind of a big deal for us here at the Seattle Kraken. I talked with Eddie Garcia about that on yesterday's episode. Every squadcast that I talk about, we're talking about goaltending. We were projected to have a great tandem. Things fell apart for a lot of different reasons. Philip Grubauer had to take on the lion's share in season 1. Season 2, Gruby goes down unhealthy. We're without Chris Driedger. Joey Dax is holding it down in Coachella Valley, and it was Martin Jones. Martin Jones was the hero, the savior for us in net early on in the season. But even that didn't last. But thankfully, Grubauer was on the come up. And obviously, I think he had a really great postseason for us. So it's been a roller coaster ride. It is really hard for me to say with any certainty after one preseason game in a split squad scenario that I have any idea what the goaltending looks like. But that's why I've talked to all 3 goaltenders this far through preseason and training camp. I plan to talk to them a lot more. So let's keep our finger on the pulse. Good read by Jeff Baker. Again, goaltending, once again, is a massive topic of conversation. I've alluded to a few things, including that Dave Haxtell gave us a lot of really good time, giving us a little bit more about his thought process, his mentality when it comes to how he's approaching competition just overall. So we're going to have some of that for Friday's episode. We're going to lean into our Firebird Fridays. And yes, I know the Subtext community, you already know this, and you will get the full interviews, but we'll have little snippets from Jessica Campbell and Disco Dan Bilesma. I love saying Disco Dan. It's just a lot of fun. I don't know if he likes it, but I'm going to stick with it. All in jest, all in good fun. We're also going to lean into observations about Riker Evans. He talked to media yesterday, and I'm hoping that we get to talk to Shane Wright between tonight's game and maybe tomorrow's practice. So stay tuned for that. All coming up later this week on Locked On Kraken. But coming up next on the show, we're going to talk about players that have been reassigned and some players who then I think have a really good chance to make a good impression in the next handful of games. That's coming up on this episode of Locked On Kraken. Thanks as always for making Locked On Kraken a part of your daily destination, and thank you also for the everydayers for bearing with the schedule. It's a little bit different now that I'm here live covering things. And usually I around this time, try to wait so you have the nuggets in real time. So I know the schedule's been a little bit wonky, but we're making it work, baby. Also, I've totally leaned into the motif here in Seattle. The rain has come. I've got my knitted hat here. This is a new pickup. These are running out, at least here at Kraken Community Iceplex. Had to get something with a hood. Wanted to get something that was nice lined, keep me nice and warm. There's plenty of pockets here. Not sponsored, but totally open to it for the team store. No, but I paid a pretty penny for this, and so you will see me wearing this for the rest of my trip. Also, I still have my red pea coat, that red glare. Gotta have the red in there. So anyway, enough about my wardrobe. Let's get into Total Recall, because we had a decent amount of movement. Now, this happened the other day, I guess Wednesday, between Tuesday night and Wednesday. Again, I had commitments to the OL Reign, and I'll talk to you about that as the story develops a little bit more there. But so I wanted to give you these, and I think it's apropos, although, again, Dave Haxtell not expecting to have the roster solidified necessarily anytime soon. We definitely have some roster moves that have been made, including with Edward Shala, who I spoke to, and we'll have some stuff again coming up for that. But let's take a look at this list. So this comes from Seattle Kraken PR. As you can see here, the following players have been reassigned to their junior clubs. So we have Furkis, Goyette, Hamel, Lashko, Reinkampf, and Chalet. He told me how to pronounce it. I'm getting acclimated to it, but I have video for you, so we'll all get it right. And also Lucas Drug. So you can see their, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see their affiliations. We've got Moose Jaw for Furkis, obviously, the Americans for Dragicevic, Goyette to the Wolves, Sudbury Wolves, Hamel with the Silver Tips, the Lashko with the Huskies, the OL Rangers is where Reinkampf is going to be, and Chalet at the OL Barrie Colts. Also some other moves. These are players that are going to Coachella Valley. And again, we have our Firebirds Friday coming up tomorrow. So you're going to want to stay tuned for that. Maxim Andreev, Jackson Castor, and Kyle Jackson are on the move there. So we'll keep you posted with any other moves. But for me, again, that means that Shane Wright, who we've talked about on this episode, Riker Evans, who we talked about a little bit, but who we'll definitely talk about tomorrow, Ty Cartier. So another player that I was eager to see a little bit more from, but who has also been reassigned, is Ty Nelson. He's with the battalion, the North Bay Battalion in the OHL. I really liked Ty Nelson. For those who, again, are on Subtext, I thought he was just making smart plays. His shot is wow. I'm really excited to see how he continues to develop his shot as a defenseman, but it's powerful, it's quick, it's accurate, so it's giving. It's just giving all of the things. So Ty Nelson is someone who, as we do our Firebird Fridays, we're just kind of checking in on our prospects. I think I'm going to keep a keen eye on him. For whatever reason, just wasn't the right time for him, but I would be surprised if his time isn't coming soon, because he was a player to me that stood out. But again, I don't have the rubric on what the coaching staff is looking for. And again, I don't think these are necessarily players that were at the top of the list to make the AHL or even NHL team, just kind of given their age and their situation. But I love that we're already starting to see some of these guys with Chalet and Fergus, I think their instincts are there. I think the physicality of the NHL level, from what I saw in the split squad, is still something that they're going to have to work on. This is something that we've talked about with Fergus before. Again, I have an interview with Chalet that will show on the show soon, but you'll have access to that if you are part of the Subtext community in full. You'll have that full interview this week. So that's kind of where we're at with our total recall, if you will. But obviously more cuts to come. But players that I'm looking for: Riker Evans, we're going to talk about him tomorrow. Shane Wright, I'm expecting to, in my post-game report, have some things to say about Shane Wright. Obviously Joey Decord. Ty Cartier, another one of those folks. But on tomorrow's episode, Firebirds Friday, you're going to get little snippets from my conversation that I had today with Dan Bilesma, with Jessica Campbell. I also want to take you back to the other day, Riker Evans talking to media, and also Dave Haxtell really breaking down some things that I think fit into what I had, the conversation, I should say, that I had with Dan in particular, as well as Jessica Campbell. As always, thank you so much for making us a part of your daily destination. You can find Locked On Kraken, of course, on YouTube and wherever you listen to audio podcasts. Hello, YouTubers. Muchas gracias. If you are listening on audio, I appreciate you so very much. And thank you so much to the Subtext community. We've got a lot more coming. I'm trying to figure out, I don't want to pepper your inbox too much, but also want to make sure you're getting up to date and useful information. So if you're on Subtext, let me know what you like. Let me know what you want more of, because we've got time. I'm here through the 7th before I have to switch gears for WNBA finals. So while I'm here, let's get as much hashtag content as possible. But for now, be kind to yourselves, be kind to one another. And I was in the women's soccer space, and I just want to say, without getting into too much detail, I just want to say I'm proud of you. Whoever's listening, whoever's watching, we all go through our struggles. I might not know you very well, but listen, we're here. We're getting through all of our stuff together. So that was kind of on my heart to say. So if you found it helpful, I'm grateful that I could send that message to you. If not, then hey, just be kind to yourself, be kind to each other. And tonight we say loud and proud: hold fast, stay true, and let's go Kraken. Catch me over at CPA. Come say hi. If not, I'll catch you on the next episode of Locked On Kraken. Peace out, everybody. Have a great day.